All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see in the title, the chemical warfare has begun, which, to be more accurate, the chemical warfare has, it begun years ago. Okay, but just for title's sake, I put that there. And I wanted to just go into a few of the recent headlines dealing with these chemical. Actually, I believe there's one more. I think the oil spill in UK. Yeah, let's see. Yep. Yeah. So, in light of these recent events in which you've been having, coincidentally, put that in quotes, these exposure of these toxic chemicals to the people. And in most cases, it happens in a situation where it's easily affecting your water or something that you use, and it affects the people. Now, you would think that with all the technology and the so-called funding and education and yada yada that this place touts themselves on, that they would have a means of safety for the people, all right, to which they wouldn't be subject to these kinds of unfortunate events. And yet it just happens like it's all good. Now, a couple of these headlines that I have here, which I don't believe any of them are by coincidence, but this is from RT News. I linked 3 out of the 4 articles in the description box, simply because the fourth one I just looked up right now. But as you can see, it says another U.S. chemical train derails. And it says, and this is from rtnews.com, as you can see, at least 8 freight trains have crashed across the country since the beginning of February. And all of a sudden, these are happening. Is this supposed to be, we're supposed to just take this as coincidence? Now, in here, I'll read just the first part real quick, real briefly. It says a Canadian Pacific Railway freight train derailed in North Dakota on Sunday, spilling, once again, hazardous liquid asphalt from containers. The crash is the latest in a spat of derailments across the U.S., one of which caused a devastating release of toxic chemicals. Okay, likely referring to the one or the situation in Ohio. So now you have another incident here, very similar in North Dakota, but in that right around the same time, you also have this situation. Okay, this is from NBC Philadelphia, which I'm sure we've already heard about it by now. Philly water remains safe through Tuesday afternoon, officials say. Which, well, interesting that they would say that. First, they said they advise people to drink bottled water and stay away from the tap water. Now, all of a sudden, they're coming around saying that it's safe to drink through Tuesday afternoon. Now, listen to this, right? It says officials said water quality testing in Philadelphia has been around the clock, and that the latest results on Monday at 4 p.m. showed no traces of the chemical detected in the city's water supply. Now, how many things are wrong with this right here? Number one, you put your safety in the hands of them. None of you are actually there verifying all of this. Number two, who's to say that you can fully trust in their water detection equipment? But even better, when you come down here, this is what they tell you. They say tap water in Philadelphia remains safe to drink and use until at least 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday, following a chemical spill in a tributary to the Delaware River, officials said. So another chemical spill. And these spills are just happening just like that. The interesting thing here is they're telling you today's Monday. They're telling you that the water is safe to drink and use until at least 3:30 p.m. How then what is the logic behind being able to, maybe as you go on down in the article it might explain, but how is the logic then being able to say, well, it's safe now, but by 3:30 on Tuesday it's not going to be safe? Maybe the chemicals by then would have permeated through all parts. But common sense would tell you, wait a minute, if there's any spill of chemicals in this water, water is connected, it's in this body of water, why should you take the risk of drinking it and even running the risk? Because now they can tell you, as they have many times, oh, it's okay to drink it, it's okay to use it, but when you get to around 3:30 on Tuesday, then you stay away from it. And then do a complete 180, all right, and come and tell you, oh, well, it looks like we missed something when checking the safety levels. It seems some chemicals went undetected. So in actuality, there may be some civilians who took this advice, but they may be at risk for boom, boom, boom. They could go that way, or they could also go the route and just play you for a fool, make you think that everything is all good. The point is, in these situations, you have to be circumspect. But what's also interesting is, I forgot what book it was I was reading, but in the book they describe how these elites have, um, these governments, they have these supercomputers, right, in these labs in these remote areas, and these supercomputers are able to run simulations based on data that is fed into them. And these simulations are not only based on, they have ones that run economic simulations, so they can temper with the economy today and hold off the effects until like 5 years down the line. And then randomly 5 years down the line, some random thing breaks, and you're wondering what happened within that fifth year that caused it, when in actuality the cause was somewhere back in the past 5 years ago. They just stalled the response until then. But with that aside, they also run simulations on people, on society. They group you up by state, city, coast, region, and ultimately as a whole. And when they run these simulations, that's why they have some of these false events and certain situations that come up, and they're constantly collecting data. So whenever an event comes up, an event happens, they constantly assess the people's reactions, and then they compare these, they cross reference these and say, okay, what is, say, the percentage of people that reacted in simulation A in this way versus now 10 years later that we're doing something similar. Are more people falling for it, or are less people falling for it? But then they go even more intricately to where they can anticipate, based on the accuracy of these simulations, how people will react. Because humans are creatures of habit. You don't like to change. They will repeat the same thing over and over and over again. You do the same action, you will get the same reaction. That's insanity, which means, pretty much doing the same thing, expecting a different result. But they're able to then see, like, they keep record of your spending habits, right? They know what you like to buy, so they can anticipate where you will be at what time, what you will purchase when you go to a certain location, on what days do you purchase what. So pretty much they can know what's in your refrigerator on what day of the week. Okay, if they wanted to. Now, why do I bring this up? Because the second that they put out information like this, they knew that if you were looking at, there you go, here it is. Let me expand this. See this right here? This is already anticipated. This is a given. There's no doubt in their mind that the second information like this comes out, they would see this. They would see people loading up just loads of water. I'm not saying don't go get water. Man, if there's a oil, chemical spill in your water supply, shit, damn right, go get some water. But the point is, they know now, they know how to cause certain reactions, and then they know what reactions to expect based on certain actions. That is control over the masses of the people. So they know how to manipulate you in certain ways. Now, if you don't get distracted and you sit back and examine all the sequence of events happening, something very interesting that I also found was that in the same time period where you had this North Dakota hazardous spill, which they haven't even really put on the mainstream media like that, right? And then you also had this Philly water situation. And then you also had here in the UK, all right, let's read this headline real quick. It says, Pool Harbor, if I'm saying that right, oil spill has potential to cause substantial or substantive damage. And let's see, when did this come out? Monday, March 27th. That's today. So let's just read this first part real quick. It says Pool Harbor is one of the most strictly protected environmental areas in the UK and Europe. But as the frantic cleanup taking place on Monday showed, it is not immune to pollution from oil spills. So, yeah, oil spills here. Now, at the same time, you have this breaking news, which also happened today, just so happened to be taking place today. 6 killed in latest U.S. School shooting, right? And they say that this is a transformer, okay? Um, it says a female, a Decepticon, a female suspect has been fatally shot by police in Nashville, Tennessee, after murdering 3 children and 3 adults. And they know the second you throw in children, you're going to get eyes, you're going to get attention, and you're going to pull on those emotional strings. So now let's read just a little bit of this. It says at least 6 people have been killed in America's latest mass shooting. An incident at a private Christian elementary school in Nashville. So not only are you throwing in elementary school, so what are people thinking of? They're thinking of kids. Not only are you throwing in Christian, so what are people? Oh my gosh, these are holy little children, innocent little children. And then you're throwing in that, wow, she murdered 3 adults. And pay attention to the choice of wording. Okay, when you hear the term kill and then you hear the term murder sounds more, like that. Okay, which there's a difference between killing and murder, but the point is they choose their words very carefully. So now this is what's dominating the headlines. Okay, this latest shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. That's pretty much what's taking over the mainstream media right about now. So maybe you might hear about this spill in North Dakota. Maybe you might not. Maybe they might give this like a 30-second segment, and they might just fill all your headlines with this shooting that took place. Okay, so everybody pay attention here. Just another shooting that took place, and then just like when the Ohio hazardous chemicals got spilled, you just so happen to be having these so-called Chinese balloons up in the atmosphere. Then they were UFOs, UAPs, Chinese balloons. Shoot them down, but we can't find the parts. Okay, so I mean, to me, it just sounds like if the only thing in the news right now, or one of the main things in the news right now, you're hearing about the whole banking crisis, right? It's happening. And you have to keep in mind that these things that happen, they don't happen and then not happen, and then that's it. They happen and they continue to happen and they continue to have an effect. However, because they are not being reported in the mainstream media, does not mean that they are not happening. But they have conditioned people's minds to think that if it's not in the news, then it doesn't exist anymore. For a period of time, they'll push a propaganda hysteria about, a fear tactic on one particular boogeyman, and then all of a sudden they stop. And then people all of a sudden, oh, well, the boogeyman doesn't exist anymore because they're not talking about him anymore. Just like they can take something that normally happens. Listen, if they were to report on the number of deaths caused by a particular disease or a particular ailment, even something you may think to be common, if they were to, they can weaponize that easily. They could take the common cold or the flu and they can actually report, like they did during the demic, right? They can report every day the death toll. And because they're constantly reporting it to you and they're showing you numbers, this could be happening normally on a regular occasion. But now, because you're getting a constant daily reminder, they're showing it on the news, they're saying it's this, they're saying it's that, it seems like it's a bigger deal, but it's really the same. It could really be the same data, but now it's just being exposed more. So now you think it's more prevalent. And then when they take it out the news, you think it's less prevalent. It doesn't happen anymore. But that's not how it works. So I pulled up here chemical warfare on Wikipedia, wiki, and it says chemical warfare, or CW, involves using toxic properties or chemical substances as weapons. This type of warfare is distinct from nuclear warfare, biological warfare, and radiological warfare, which together make up CBRN, the military acronym for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear warfare or weapons, all of which are considered weapons of mass destruction. Okay, because they can accomplish a high level of damage. They can do a lot of damage, very with little work. Put it like that, right? If one guy with a gun tries to kill, I don't know, a city of people, that's gonna be much more work than if they just drop one bomb on the city, right? It says a term that contrasts with conventional weapons. The use of chemical weapons is prohibited under customary international humanitarian law. Yeah, the use of chemical weapons, the use of chemicals as weapons, but chemicals are used. Chemicals are constantly used. They're just not they're not openly admitting to using it as weapons. But how do you accomplish the same task without looking like the villain? Say you deliberately fly over a city and drop an atomic or some dangerous bomb on their ass, right? And then, oh, like, I don't know, 10,000 people die. And they say, wow, these guys, this country dropped the atomic bomb or some dangerous bomb on their own civilians. What kind of shit? That the UN comes up in a humanitarian crisis. We got to do something about this, right? Versus you do the same action, but now you say, no, 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 no. We were transporting some highly classified, important materialistic research from one secret base to another. However, when we got over this place, something malfunctioned with the plane storage compartment, and it released the thing jammed, and then it released, and it accidentally dropped this dangerous material, which then happened to come in contact with the ground or hit a certain factory, and then the heat and the fire caused this explosion, and then it was an accident. And yet 10,000 people are dead. But now there's no need for a humanitarian crisis. You don't got to bring in the UN. They're not going to look at you like you're a bunch of demons because you did the same thing. But all you had to say was, no, we were just trying to transport one thing from one place to another accidentally on the way. This just happened. And it's such an unfortunate situation. But so then it's not chemical warfare. You didn't use the chemicals as a weapon because you didn't intend to deliberately do it. It just so happened. And that's how you get away with chemical warfare. Okay, by not, you just say it's not. You don't say, you don't classify it as chemical warfare, and yet you can do it. So these devils employ these tactics in your every day-to-day life. When they spray chemtrails on your ass, if nobody asks about it, then they don't need to give an answer. And when people start questioning it, then they just slap a label on it. Oh, those are conspiracy theories. Forget about it and go back to sleep. But on the other hand, they're contaminating your water, and they do things incrementally. Oh, something happened over here. Oh, in Ohio. Okay, cool. Then, Philadelphia. Oh, all right, cool. Oh, then they're transporting some of the chemicals, and it's going through to the Mississippi. Okay, all right. On different times. Oh, but then there was one also in North Dakota, and since they happen, and it kind of sounds like one-off cases, before you know it, damn near the whole water supply and damn near the whole East Coast or the Mid or the West is corrupted. It's infected or contaminated, and they might not even tell you. They might be mitigating it. They might just tell you, oh, it's contained within this particular area, but they know that it's not, and it's spread throughout wherever it is. All right, these devils are cynical, man. They're very, very sick. They're heartless. They don't stop short of committing genocide because they have a heart and they care about the people so much. If they stop short of committing genocide, it is because there's probably some political or, you know, geopolitical reason, maybe some threat or some consequence too great for them to afford, which is why they stopped, or maybe they just held back on it. So, matter of fact, let's get this real quick. This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." And walking circumspectly, let's look up the word walk. Does this mean that every 2 seconds you got to stop and do a 360 spin? You know, land, do some Michael Jackson, you know, do the moonwalk and then do a 360 constantly every 2 seconds, just so you can look around you. Now it says to walk, to make one's way progress. What's the Hebrew or the Greek? Peripateo. And it says to make due use of opportunities. It says Hebrew for to live, to regulate one's life, to conduct oneself. So in essence, when it says walk, it doesn't mean literally walking. It's like when the scriptures talk about what was his name? Enoch walked with God. Most High put on his sketches and came down, and then he used to just take these weekly, daily, you know, strolls with Enoch right through the garden. Yeah, you see right there, I had them build that. That's an oak tree right there. Yeah, that's about 3,000 years old. Yeah, it's crazy, but wait till you see the other one over here. Yeah, yeah. No, that's not what it means when it says that he walked with God. Okay, walk in here meaning your manner of conduct. Okay, your lifestyle, the way you live or you carry yourself. So walking circumspectly means you don't just move about in an ignorant mindset, not observing anything. Walking circumspectly, meaning spect is short of like spectate or spectacle, which is to look or to observe. And circum is where you get anything dealing with circum. All right, goes to circle. Okay, around. All right, around. So it says, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. So fools walk around, without observing. They just go. They don't. The scriptures tell you the prudent man looketh well into his going, right? But fools don't. And so in these times, especially, we are not supposed to be going about just taking their word for it. Oh, it just happened. It just so happened that this spilled over here or this did this over here. No. Okay, that's not we're not supposed to just take that, because pursuant to 2 Corinthians 2 and 11, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, of his plans. We know that it is well within their capability to do these things with the goals that they have in mind. And they have this term polycrisis, where you have a variety of different crises that are taking place, and all from different aspects, the financial aspect. So they for years they've been talking about switching to this new digital system, changing the financial system, the monetary system being revolutionized, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, change, change, change. And then all of a sudden, coincidentally, the current financial system is in a crisis. Now we have a banking crisis. And people just think that, oh, it just happens and it's going to be fixed. We don't got to worry about it because the Fed stepped in and did yada yada. Really? And then they turned around and increased interest rates again. So nobody thinks to connect the dots and say, wait, these guys have been talking about doing some major changes to this thing, and in order to really implement the new, they got to do away with the old. So is it really by coincidence that the old is being done away with? It's crumbling? Anyway, it says redeeming the time because the days are evil. So we know that we are living in some evil days, some evil times. And so we have to constantly look around. Don't be ignorant of these matters. Pay attention. Be on your watch. Okay? Because things are happening, and they're happening. So many things on so many different levels are happening at the same time that if you're not careful, one person can't keep up with it all. Your senses will be overloaded, which is why the Lord has a body. So as a body, we operate and we're constantly watching. Okay, and this way we're able to stay in the stay up to date with the news. So let's see if there's anything else important in here. I know I read just a little bit of these articles. Like I said, you can access them in the description box. But it says the incident took place near the town of Windmere shortly after 11 p.m. on Sunday night, which is last night. A Canadian Pacific spokesman told local media. Richland County Emergency Manager Brett Lambridge said that 31 cars of the 70 car train left the track, some of which were carrying liquid asphalt. Liquid asphalt is a flammable petroleum based product, but Lambridge said that cold temperatures will allow the material to solidify and reduce the chance of fire. Now, you have to understand. Let me see if I look it up, see if it'll come up. Damage control. Let's see. Do they have more? It says damage control action taken to limit damaging effects of an accident or error. I guess to an extent, this is accurate. And this is something that they use whenever something happens, in order to keep things on the wraps before people just start formulating things and running with it. They always come, and the initial statement is don't panic the people unless their goal is actually to panic the people. Okay, but the initial statement is don't panic the people. So even if this is the worst news possible, you need to give them the worst news possible in the best way possible, to where they don't get spooked. You tell them in a nice calm way. So if you notice, what he said was cold temperatures will allow the material to solidify and reduce the chance of fire. But reduce the chance of fire, that is not a certain statement. How much is it going to reduce the chances by? What if it reduces it by 0.0009%? And then there's a 99.999 something percent chance of the fire. What if the temperatures are not cold enough? How do you know that this is going to happen? You don't. But when you say this, the average mind, whenever they say somebody that's actually living very close to this vicinity, that maybe have been spooked, this is all they need to hear. A grain or a shred of like some calming news, and they will cling on to it. Okay, because they don't want to be spooked. They don't want to, they want any ray of light, any ray of hope. And because of that, there are people that live willfully ignorant. Anyway, it says the cleanup operation is expected to last between 7 and 10 days, local radio reported, citing emergency workers. And you may have people that watch these videos and say, you guys are always looking for the evil within everything. You're always looking at it from the negative, pessimistic side of things. Listen, if you understood who it is that you're dealing with, when I say who it is you're dealing with, I mean those that are behind the scenes pulling these strings. If you understood how they think, if you actually read some of their books and their plans and agendas, you will understand. You would think that we are even cutting it, less than it is. Okay? They don't do things by coincidence. And they don't just randomly do things either. So it says an industrial train spilled corn syrup in a derailment in Arizona earlier this month. So trains are just going around derailing. What does that tell you about this place's infrastructure? Oh, wait, hold on. It says the incident follows the derailment of at least 7 other freight trains across the U.S. since the beginning of February. Another Canadian Pacific train carrying wheat went off the rails in a Chicago suburb earlier on Sunday, while 5 freight trains or freight cars operated by CSX Transportation left the track in Massachusetts on Thursday. An industrial train spilled corn syrup in a derailment in Arizona earlier this month. And then it goes on, so on and so forth. They mentioned what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, and you saw how they reacted to that. Now let's hear some more. A total of 38 cars derailed in East Palestine, or I think they call it Palestine, but whatever they call it, we know the location. Catching fire and spilling toxic vinyl chloride into the atmosphere. Authorities burned off. Oh goodness, burned off thousands. So what happens? What happens when heat or fire comes in contact with chemicals? you know, or toxic material. The if you break it down on the lower level, the elements, if you want to call it that, get into an excited state. Okay, just like you may have food in the fridge, right? You maybe like some rice or some stew, and you take out the food from the fridge. You gotta go close and really smell it if you want to get the scent. But what happens when you scoop up a portion of it, put it in a bowl, microwave it, or put it in the stove and warm it up? You could be in the next room and you can still smell the aroma, or the scent of the food, because there's fire in there. Okay, that's causing all those different chemicals and elements and whatnot to now be in a more excited state. That heat giving them energy. So what did these people think would happen? Hey, we spilled some chemicals. I have a great idea. Let's burn it. Let's burn it. That'll be a good idea. So it says here, authorities burned off thousands of gallons of the chemicals, blanketing the town under choking black smog that residents claim is still causing skin rashes and respiratory illnesses. So please tell me, with a country that has all these so-called great colleges and universities and degrees and scientists and all these people that are so well trained, and they thought it'd be a good idea to burn thousands of gallons of the chemical. Nobody thought of any better plan. Let's just burn it, and just basically just choke these civilians out, and nobody questions that. That's not suspicious. That's just okay. So it says the Biden administration was criticized for its handling of the incident, with former President Donald Trump visiting the site and President Joe Biden opting not to. Why? Why shouldn't you care for the people that voted you in? Shouldn't you go there, show them that you here on the spot, that we in this together? Because that's when people find out, no, we ain't in there together. See, there's an episode, for those that have ever seen the Boondocks. There, I forget exactly what season it was, but there's an episode that I think the president in there, either maybe they explicitly said it was Obama, but it really looked like him. And there was something going on. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was a fried chicken flu or something. And things just got very, very chaotic. Let's put it like that. So this guy, he's in the White House, I guess in some bunker somewhere, and he's just giving out these short broadcasts. And every time he comes on, the situation gets worse and worse and worse. But he just comes on and he says, I know things are bad. Things are getting bad. It's getting pretty chaotic out there. But I just wanted to let you know that myself, Bo, Michelle, and the kids, we're all right. We're doing okay here in this safe bunker. But, we wish you the best of luck. And then he cuts it off. And then like a couple of days or a couple of hours later, he comes back. We've been briefed on the situation. It seems to be getting much worse than last time. But yes, again, myself, Bo, Michelle, and the kids, we're doing just fine. We'll be just good in here. All right. But you guys take care. Then that's it. So we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We're not in this together, man. There is no we are in this together. Okay. This is them playing a very cruel plan, all right, on the people, and they're going to continue to do it, and it's going to introduce the time of Jacob's trouble that the scriptures talk about. So we're definitely in some serious times, and it's definitely high time to awake out of sleep. It says Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, if I said that right. He's got some interesting names, man. Toured East Palestine several weeks after the accident, and earlier this month urged Congress to pass stricter safety legislation for freight railways. Well, now you just had another one. I don't know, the 8th or the 9th now, but Congress is busy worrying about sending packages to Ukraine, and all those kinds of things. So yeah, man, that's what's going on. We all know about what's going on here. Let me see. Maybe I can pause this and we can read it a bit. So it says, no contaminants have been detected in the Delaware River water tap water remains safe. Mm. Water quality testing has been round the clock. Testing shows that it is safe to extend the deadline until until 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. These guys, man. It's safe to drink and use tap water at least until 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. Residents should use tap water as they normally do. As we continue to test, we will continue to provide updates. Well, you trust them at your own, your own risk. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it on that. I just wanted to go into a few headlines that have been happening recently. Okay, and this is really just a form of chemical warfare. Just they've been doing it for a while, but they're really trying to whack the people quickly. From injecting Kool-Aid into your veins, to spraying toxic chemicals over you to breathe, to putting certain dangerous hazardous chemicals in the food that you eat. They use things like meat glue and all of these things on a daily cadence, and they feed it to you in mass production. You don't know what kind of things they use in those factories when they're mass producing your so-called food. So the scriptures is it wasn't an understatement when it said that we shall eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles. The bread is beyond defiled. They use freaking beaver anus. There's some substance in there to coat certain candies, M&Ms, and all of that. So these are the same people telling you that it's safe to drink that water, man. So you go ahead and you see where that gets you. Okay, but with that, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.